thought I would come on here this morning and talk a little bit about my experiences in the music industry. Um, Now, my the type of music that I do is very experimental, very fringe. And basically, if you do not, so point number one, if you don't fit into a particular scene, uh, it's difficult to gain traction. So I don't really fit in with a lot of scenes. My stuff's kind of dark wavy, it's kind of pop. It's also like heavily influenced by harsh noise. So um, it was always difficult for me to find the people that I wanted to play shows with too. So I was mostly playing harsh noise shows, which is a little fringe. Um, and people don't want to allow harsh noise artists to do that in their venue for the most part. Even like, I'm sure a lot of you heard about that guy in Texas who was like eating poop on stage. And the thing is, I don't think he was a noise artist. I think he was like doing punk music along with that, and then was doing like shocking stuff on stage just for the effect of it. I mean, like, I saw a lot of stuff in my years in harsh noise, like people throwing raw chicken at the audience. Um, I have a friend who regularly strips down on stage and smears himself with birthday cake for themselves. I think they use they them pronouns now. Sorry. Um, so that's part of it. Uh, is that like these cohesive scenes? What you get at the lower tier venues where like local bands play, it has to be very like standardized to that type of music. So you get like a lot of indie rock bands. You also get a lot of bands doing stuff that's already been done before. So you're not getting like a lot of innovative new sounds out of these scenes, which the local scene is where you start out when you are going to be moving up. Like you don't just start opening for Tool. Like that's not the first show you ever play. I have had friends that like have told me stories like the second show we ever played was opening for, some big band, like maybe Thursday tier, if any of you remember Thursday. But like really like even if that is your second show, the likelihood that you're going to go on from there to just being like massively famous is so small. And so it's almost even like having opportunities like that used to be opening the door for you to go on and do bigger and better things, and that's just not really the case anymore. Um, this isn't going to be very good for ASMR, I'm sorry, but I'll probably like throw some things like that in there because isn't compulsively ASMR like that. Um, so point number two, there's no incentive for the people who make money in the music industry to innovate. They want to continue doing what they have been doing. That, people love legacy acts. They love, basically, I have this saying that People only want to hear the same five, especially drunk people. Drunk people only want to hear the same five Leonard Skinner songs over and over again. So if you're going to write a new song, you should just write a Leonard Skinner song. So that's what a lot of people are doing now. I've definitely been offered money by drunk people multiple times to stop playing. Um, because, like, the kind of music that I play, if you're high, you might really enjoy it. But, like, if you're drunk, it's like challenging your mind too much. So, if you're sober and you listened to it, you might be like, oh, actually, I really enjoy this. But if it's the first time you're hearing something and you're drunk, which means your brain does not want to work. I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. Like, I used to be an alcoholic. I know what your brain does when you're drunk. Um, so that kind of like feathers out, not everybody's drunk all the time, but a lot of people like really don't want to hear different sounds than what they're used to hearing. Um, and so those things are, and like the first time you hear something, this is a really crucial point too, because I'm not trying to other, like, I think that my music could be accessible to a very wide audience. um, but that would only be if I had like a major development deal behind me for promotion and just absolutely shoving it down people's throats. And I could be ugly and talk about artists that I think that is the case for them, but I'm not going to, because I don't feel like it's productive discourse. I do think that there are people who have their streams inflated, but I'm going to let people who are much bigger in the industry call each other out for that. Um, and so that's another big part of it is there are not big, this is point number three, there are not big development deals going on for most artists that are making original types of music. What you do see is industry development where you get your Disney feeder system stars. We're seeing like all of those come through, which, like, I don't hate it. I think that the songwriting is there. I think, especially somebody like Chapel Roan, like, they're really a success story in that regard. Um, so it's not like that's only bad, but you're also not getting development deals that are going to give you the next Flaming Lips. You're not getting like the next Radiohead out of that, which is something to consider because the next Radiohead is out there. Like, I've seen a lot of bands come through the experimental music scene that were amazing. And I still go and see bands play that are great, that are not really ever going to get the development that they need to get to that level. Because in order to be a Radiohead, in order to be a Beatles, you have to be spending so much time in the studio. And if you have a day job, you're not ever going to get to that point. And it's not because you're not capable of it, it's because you don't have time to work a day job and also get to the level of like a Radiohead or a Beatles. Those guys don't have day jobs anymore. That is their job. Um, because, like, another example is okay, so like a band like Tears for Fears or Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. Those guys were on public assistance in England, and that was how they were able to afford. They were buying like cheap synthesizers, which were newly available at the time, and that was what they were creating on. And a lot of the Tears for Fears demos then were getting uh, workshopped in studios by labels. So the system was different. Now most people are making beats. I hate that term so much. Making beats like you're doing anything. It's gross. Just stop. Like especially if you don't have like a freestanding MPC, if you're just like moving files around inside an interface, like I'm sorry, like you're probably just using the same samples as everyone else too. Like that, okay, that's point number 4. Everybody's using the same sample packs. So how like bands like Sonic Youth, Nirvana, My Bloody Valentine, all very well known for their guitar tone, right? And I mean, I hate guitar because I think it's overdone. So if I think that this instrument is overdone, and I'm giving you examples of people who have made it sound different, imagine how overdone I think all the samples are that I hear in the same songs over and over again. And I go to Planet Fitness pretty much every day because that is a big part of my hygiene routine, living in my car. Um, like, I have to listen to all of those songs, whether I want to or not. Sometimes it's gotten to the point where, like, and I will say this, if a Madonna song, like the one that she ripped off the ABBA riff just wholesale and was like, oh, this is just a Madonna song now. No, it's not. And I think that's 5. I think that set a really bad precedent. I think that set a really terrible precedent because it's not like what you had up until that point was that hip hop artists were taking popular, well known tracks and rapping over them. But they were rapping over them. They were actually adding something to it, they were adding something to the conversation. They weren't just, even in the music video, when she can't fully do the splits, like, what are you even doing here? I have had to tolerate Madonna literally. I was born in 1983, which is the year that she broke. I've literally had to tolerate Madonna my entire life. And I think that's a crime. Which takes me to point number, I'm going to call it point number 5, and maybe cut Madonna a little slack. Um, she's better than she deserves. Let's talk about the gang stalking. A lot of people who are trying to do music right now are literally being gang stalked. So I don't understand fully all the mechanisms behind it. I don't understand fully who is responsible for it. But I do know that it's happening. Um, because obviously, like, my circumstances are what they are. Now, there are a lot of things that went into that happening, and I don't fully hold someone else responsible for that. I definitely could have made different choices, but at the end of the day, a lot of people literally say, like, if you can do literally anything else to make money other than music, you should do that because it's just really brutal. And you'll get to a certain tier where you don't know who knows who you are and you don't know who doesn't know who you are. And of course, like, I don't really assume that people know who I am, but there are certain people who should know who I am. And if they don't know who I am and then they act brand new about it and are really ugly to me, I'm not walking in there with like some attitude of entitlement. Like, it's like, well, you should let me book this show because I have all this other experience that I've put into this. And if they're not letting me book shows, then there's a problem. That's my livelihood, you know? And a lot of people in um, more fringe music scenes think that touching money is going to send you to hell. And it's like, well, slavery is not capitalism. And you're putting a lot of people in situations where they're not going to be able to continue doing this. And your whole thing is like, well, we want to be able to continue doing this. So if we get money involved, it's going to be ugly. It's like, no, you need to be able to pay people because I need gas to get to and from the show. These pieces of equipment that I use are not cheap. Like, and if I use the cheapest equipment, like, it's not going to sound the way I want it to sound. So all of these things are considerations too. Um, but then back to the gang stalking. I mean, I did literally have a psychotic break, which felt very manufactured. When I had COVID, it felt very manufactured, and it's hard to ignore those things. I wouldn't say that that's like the biggest obstacle that I face right now because, like, honestly, even a gang stalker has so many hours in their day to be following somebody like me around. But it's not like it's not a factor. I'm not the only person who's experiencing this. And a lot of people who experience it um, don't understand what's going on and would not want to think that something like that was happening to them. A lot of it, like the mind control, is really the worst part. And that really comes and goes for me as far as like getting weird ideas about stuff. And I just hate it. I mean, like, I'm just trying, at this point, I'm just trying to get better. Um, so those are my quick and dirty 5 reasons why the music industry is in the toilet right now. And I mean, as far as the gang stalking goes, again, consider it like this: disbelief is a privilege. It means that you have never had your entire world rocked by something that you did not understand. Um, so, you know, we should all be like more compassionate to each other. Even when I say things about people, like, I feel bad. I don't want to say nasty things about people. That's not how I want to occupy my time or my mind. I want to say that, and this has been a lot of what I have built my career upon, and still I end up living in my car, that I have tried to not just promote myself and my own work, but to build up the people around me so that we can all rise together. And man, if they see you doing that, you may as well just hang it up because they're never going to let you do anything again. Anyway, I love you guys. I wanted to hop on here because this is my biggest channel and I hadn't posted anything on here in a while. And I have been posting mostly on my music channel, which is just Verge Bliss. I think the tag for that one is Manic Pixie Video Vixen. And I actually recently I posted a couple of videos that I used Comfy UI to generate AI images, and then I turned those AI images into videos, and I like spliced it all together to make these 2 music videos. Which, I mean, it's clearly AI. I was not trying to duplicate any other process with this. So I am interested to hear people's thoughts about it because uh, I have complicated feelings, as I'm sure a lot of people do, around AI. So, um, yeah, I love you guys. I miss you. Um, I think about you a lot. My mental health has improved a lot, so now I'm starting to think, and that was a reason why I took a very long break from this channel, was the psychosis. So I hope you're all well. I would love to hear from you in the comments, and I'll see you soon.